Austin Reeves is walking into a season that could completely reshape his career, and the weight of expectations has never been heavier. This is a contract year for him, and that alone changes the entire dynamic around the way people talk about his game. On one side, you have reports suggesting he could command somewhere in the ballpark of $30 million per season. On the other side, whispers float around that if his market heats up, the number could climb closer to $50 million. Now, that is the type of figure that turns heads and divides fan bases. There are those who believe he is worth every penny, ready to be locked in as a long-term cornerstone. And there are others who would rather see the Lakers let him walk than pay superstar money to someone they view as a role player. The truth with Reeves, like with most polarizing players, probably lies somewhere in the middle. He is not the next Michael Jordan, despite the wildest claims from his most passionate supporters. At the same time, he is far from being the deadweight that his harshest critics make him out to be. What he has proven consistently is that he is a high-level basketball player who can swing games when he's locked in. Someone who at his best looks like a borderline all-star, and at his worst disappears in stretches that make you scratch your head. That inconsistency is what has kept him from truly breaking into the league's upper tier. When you look back at his past few seasons, the pattern is pretty clear. Reeves can string together 10 games where he looks unstoppable, drilling shots, creating for teammates, and putting up the type of numbers that make you wonder if he's on the verge of stardom. But just as quickly, he can follow that with another 10-game stretch where he looks completely out of rhythm, missing open looks and struggling to impact the game. That roller coaster makes it difficult for coaches and front offices to pin down exactly what his ceiling is. Is he a reliable third option on a contender, or is he better suited as a complementary piece who thrives when the spotlight isn't as bright? The playoffs, unfortunately for him, have often leaned toward the negative side of that equation. When the competition stiffens, defenses tighten, and every possession matters, Reeves hasn't consistently shown that he can be relied upon as a top option. His numbers drop, his shooting becomes erratic, and at times he has looked nearly unplayable when he's forced into more of an off-ball role. That is not to say he hasn't had flashes. Every player of his caliber has moments. But the gap between his regular season comfort and postseason struggles is a real concern, especially when teams are evaluating whether he deserves the type of contract that will commit them to him for years. And here's where the fit gets even more complicated. With Luka Doncic now commanding the ball, and LeBron James still very much capable of orchestrating an offense whenever he feels like it, Reeves is slotted into a position where he needs to find consistency off the ball. That means hitting threes at a dependable clip, cutting at the right times, and not vanishing when defenses key in on the stars around him. The issue is that shooting has been the most streaky aspect of his game. If he cannot steady that part of his arsenal, the trio of Luka, LeBron, and Reeves could struggle to truly mesh. From a roster-building perspective, his contract situation is just as tricky. When Reeves was on a bargain deal, he was one of the best value players in the league, a guy who could swing a series and barely dent the cap sheet. Now, as he moves into the territory of $30 million or more per season, the calculus changes. A player making that much has to be someone you can count on in every big moment. If not, the deal quickly becomes a burden, and trade conversations start to hover around him. Ironically, at around $30 million a year, he might actually become easier to move because that salary slot allows teams to match deals more flexibly compared to his current number, which is too low to bring back significant assets. The Spurs have been mentioned as a potential suitor, which is fascinating but also confusing. San Antonio already has a stable of young guards, with promising names they expect to develop over the next few years. Bringing in Reeves at a high salary would crowd that backcourt and possibly stunt the growth of players they drafted specifically to build around Victor Wembanyama. Unless the Spurs are planning some sort of consolidation move, maybe trading out an older guard like De'Aaron Fox, if they feel his timeline doesn't align perfectly with Wemby's, it's difficult to see the logic in chasing Reeves. In that sense, some of the chatter about San Antonio's interest could very well be posturing from agents, the type of rumor that exists mainly to nudge the Lakers into upping their offer. At the end of the day, everything comes down to what Reeves looks like when the lights are brightest. Regular season numbers are important, but they only tell part of the story. If he puts together another season where he thrives from November to April only to shrink when May arrives, front offices will hesitate to hand him the kind of money that locks them in long term. On the flip side, if he proves that he can deliver in the postseason, that he can be the reliable third guy behind two superstars and not just a streaky role player, then the narrative around him changes completely. That is why this season is so massive, both for his career trajectory and for the direction of the Lakers. Right now, the most realistic outcome feels like something in the $30 to $33 million range annually. That's a number you can live with if you believe in his growth, and it's a number you can move in a trade if things don't work out. Once it climbs into the 35 to 40 million range, though, the questions become louder. Can you really commit superstar money to someone who has not yet proven he can consistently perform like one? Or do you hold the line, risk losing him, and trust that the cap flexibility is more valuable than keeping him at an inflated price? This is the gamble both Reeves and the Lakers are playing. He believes he can prove he's worth it. They need to see him do it when it matters most. And the rest of the league is watching closely, because if the Lakers hesitate, there will absolutely be teams ready to test their resolve with offers that push the market higher. When we look deeper into Austin Reeves and the role he is being asked to fill, the contrast between expectation and reality becomes even sharper. Reeves is not just fighting for his place in the Lakers' rotation anymore. He is fighting to prove that he could be a long-term building block in a franchise that historically demands greatness from its players. Every night he steps on the floor this season, it will not just be about the box score. It will be about showing that he can handle the responsibility of being a consistent option alongside two of the most ball-dominant players in the league. That is no small task. Luka Doncic is going to have the ball in his hands the majority of the time, and LeBron James, even as he adjusts to a more secondary role, is never going to completely relinquish his influence over the offense. Reeves must find a way to carve out his own space without disrupting that balance. One of the main concerns that has followed him is the inconsistency in his outside shot. When he is locked in, his stroke looks smooth, confident, and lethal. But when he falls into one of those cold stretches, his impact drops dramatically. Playing next to Luka demands that you hit those open looks, because Luka's gravity as a playmaker generates so many clean shots for teammates. If Reeves cannot take advantage of those opportunities, defenses will sag off him, and suddenly the entire spacing of the offense collapses. This is what makes his shooting the single most important skill he needs to refine if he wants to justify a contract that could reach $35 million per year. Beyond the shooting, though, is the question of identity. Is Reeves meant to be a secondary creator who takes pressure off Luka when he sits? Is he meant to slide into a third scoring role, picking his spots when defenses focus too heavily on LeBron and Luka? Or is he meant to be more of a glue guy, someone who brings steady playmaking, hustle, and smart decision-making rather than explosive scoring? The challenge is that fans and the front office all want him to be all three at once. And when he falls short in any area, the criticism comes down hard. That is the price of expectations when you enter the conversation of $30 million players. Another angle worth considering is how his contract situation affects the Lakers' flexibility. When a player is still on a bargain deal, teams can get creative. They can surround stars with depth, they can add veterans on mid-level contracts, and they can still keep the books clean for future moves. Once a role player is paid like a star, every miss, every cold stretch, every quiet playoff game becomes magnified because of the financial weight attached. Reeves moving into that bracket means he will no longer be judged against the other role players in the league. He will be judged against players who make similar money, guys who carry teams on a nightly basis and show up in the playoffs with reliable impact. That is why some executives quietly believe the Lakers would be better off setting a hard line in negotiations. If he accepts a deal around $30 million annually, it keeps the window open for him to grow into that role while still leaving space for trades if necessary. But if he demands closer to $40 million, it could put the Lakers in a position where they either overpay and risk having an unmovable contract, or they let him walk and lose a fan favorite who forced his way into purple and gold because he genuinely wanted to be there. It is a delicate balance of loyalty, value, and long-term planning. The Spurs chatter is another wrinkle that adds intrigue to this story. On paper, San Antonio already has a collection of young guards they're trying to develop. Adding Reeves at a high price does not necessarily fit the natural timeline of their rebuild. But sometimes, teams with cap space are willing to overpay just to bring in a proven contributor, especially one who has shown flashes of being more than just a role player. For Reeves, that kind of leverage could be huge. Even if the Spurs are not the perfect fit, the very idea that another team would open its checkbook could drive his market up and force the Lakers to make a decision sooner rather than later. That is how free agency works. Perception often becomes reality. But the real test will always be the postseason. For all the debate about his regular season numbers, for all the arguments about his potential ceiling, the playoffs are where reputations are built. If Reeves steps into this year's playoffs and shows he can be that steady third option, if he knocks down shots and provides a consistent 20 points per game while defending competently, then the narrative flips in his favor, and suddenly the Lakers are viewed as wise for keeping him. If he struggles again, if he vanishes when the defense tightens and the possessions slow down, then every dollar above $30 million starts to look like a mistake. There is also the question of how much Luka's presence can elevate him. Playing next to a superstar like Luka can sometimes unlock new levels in teammates. Luka's ability to draw double teams and create wide-open looks could simplify Reeves' role in a way that allows him to thrive. If that happens, then his value as a complementary piece could skyrocket. But again, it comes down to whether Reeves can hit those shots and make the most of the opportunities given to him. The difference between being seen as a bargain and being seen as an overpaid liability will come down to just how consistently he can perform in those moments. From a broader perspective, this season feels like a crossroad for both Reeves and the Lakers. They're trying to compete in a league that has no patience for mediocrity. Championships are the standard, and every contract decision is tied to that pursuit. If Reeves proves he can be part of that chase, then his story becomes one of growth, perseverance, and reward. If not, then he risks becoming another cautionary tale of a player who is good, maybe even very good, but not quite good enough to justify superstar money. That is the razor-thin line he is walking as the season unfolds. And for Reeves, personally, it is about more than just money. It is about legacy, about respect, about proving that he belongs among the players who do not just survive in this league, but thrive under pressure. He has already beaten the odds by carving out a role when few expected him to even make an impact. Now the question is whether he can take the next step and become the kind of player who can anchor a franchise's hopes deep into the postseason. The answer to that question will not just define his contract, it will define his career. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, whispers are swirling through the NBA corridors, and if the murmurs are to be believed, one of the league's most seismic moves could be about to take place. Kevin Durant, the prolific scorer and former MVP, might be heading to Los Angeles to join the Lakers. Sources close to the situation, speaking under the usual veil of confidentiality, suggest that discussions have intensified over the past week, sending shockwaves across social media and fan circles alike. Durant, a figure who has dazzled courts from Oklahoma City to Brooklyn, has often been the center of trade speculation, but few scenarios have carried the weight and allure of a potential Lakers reunion with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. The mere thought of Durant donning the purple and gold ignites imaginations, conjuring visions of a powerhouse trio capable of rewriting NBA narratives. Lakers fans, long accustomed to championship dreams punctuated by heartbreak, are holding their collective breath as rumors intensify. While nothing has been officially confirmed, insiders hint that Durant's camp is weighing the benefits of joining a team with immediate championship aspirations versus remaining with Brooklyn. The Lakers' front office, keen on reasserting dominance in the Western Conference, is reportedly ready to explore all avenues to bring a player of Durant's caliber to Staples Center. Conversations reportedly revolve around creative trade structures and salary maneuvers, with both sides motivated by the prospect of instant title contention. Analysts are already spinning scenarios, debating how Durant would fit into the Lakers' existing scheme, how rotations would shift, and which role he would assume alongside LeBron, who continues to defy Father Time. Social media is a frenzy of speculation, with fans dissecting every tweet, Instagram story, and cryptic comment from Durant himself. Some dismiss the chatter as typical off-season noise, but others point to the intensity of recent reports as a sign that something substantial could be brewing. If this move materializes, it would mark a defining moment not just for the Lakers, but for the entire NBA landscape. The combination of Durant's scoring prowess and the Lakers' star-studded roster could tilt the balance of power in the West dramatically, igniting rivalries and forcing contenders to rethink their strategies. Until an official announcement arrives, the rumor mill will churn relentlessly, fueled by hope, speculation, and the tantalizing prospect of one of the game's greatest talents heading to Hollywood. For now, the league watches, fans dream, and every passing day adds another layer to what could become the story of the offseason: Kevin Durant to the Lakers. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also, share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.